Hello and welcome back to another episode of our Bounty Hunter Saga. As you can hear over the radio chatter at the moment, there's a little bit of a kerfuffle going on between some Black Sun and Leonome. But what we're going to do today is we're going to do a little bit of a tutorial, and in this tutorial we are going to look at how we go about mapping out systems to maximise the efficiency of our trading and mining networks, as well as a bounty hunter to get a bit more coverage on finding our potential bounty targets. Now, it's not the most thrilling of tasks to do on X4, but it is a necessary one. So we're going to look at, first of all, the supplies, what we need to be able to map out a system, and also what the different types of satellites and things like that. So we'll jump in at that first of all. So in order to start this whole process, you need to be either docked at a wharf for small and medium ships to be able to buy the satellites that you need, or a equipment dock, which are represented by the spanner. If you're in a large or extra large ship, again, equipment dock, or you need a shipyard. So the first thing you need to do is you go into your upgrade and your repairs, and you want to be under this consumables. Now there's two different types of satellites. So we've got our advanced satellite and our small satellites, which the main difference between them is essentially the range. If we go to our encyclopedia, satellite, if we can remember how to spell satellite, that is, come on, where's dyslexia? Right, not aware, it's an inventory item. So your encyclopedia is great, and it tells you everything that you can buy, use, and what it does if you're struggling. The definitions and descriptions aren't always brilliant, but for most things it gives us what we need. Oh, sorry, it's under equipment. Satellites, there we go. So, an advanced satellite. So, an advanced satellite has a radar range of 75 kilometers. It's a static object used for observation. Once it's deployed, the satellite will pick up any communications sent and received by both ships and stations on open frequencies within a certain range. They are not one-use objects. A satellite can be deployed in one location, then deactivated and picked up in a ship and redeployed in another. Which basically means if you need to, you can pick up your satellites and redeploy them. So that's your advanced satellite. So we've got this, a rather large 75 kilometer range, and then we've got our normal satellites. They only have a 30 kilometer range. It's still a static object. It does the same thing, and you can pick these up as well. The best way to show the difference is if we look space down here. This is the radius of an advanced satellite. This is the radius of an old satellite. Obviously the advanced satellite is a lot better in the fact that we get a bigger range, we get more coverage in the system. Technically speaking, you don't need as many advanced satellites to map out a good chunk of the system. But the downside is the price. So if we look at our consumables again, an advanced satellite is 50,000. They vary between, depending on your relationship with the faction, they vary between kind of like 40 to 55,000. compared to a normal satellite, which is around 5,000. You can buy a hell of a lot more small satellites than you can advanced satellites. So the way I look at it, if say I was in the Equinox, which is my Mandalorian gauntlet, I tend to go for smaller satellites because it can hold 15. In a small ship like this, I'm currently flying around in a Z95 Scout just because it's a little bit easier for scouting missions. I'd go with advanced satellite because I can't hold as many, and there's always the chance, if we've got a cluster of stations such as down here, I can drop an advanced satellite and pick up multiple. Okay, now we've just got a message. What was that? Oh, so Bespin. So we're at war. I know is nearly at war with the Republic. So let's get to what we need to be doing. That's your satellites. The other thing that you can get, which is useful, are these resource probes. Basically what a resource probe does is you deploy a resource probe, which can be seen on there. It doesn't give you any like telemetry data. It doesn't tell you anything around the system. The only thing it does is tells you what is in that system, mineral wise. So in this circle area, so it covers a bit. If you want really good indication of what you've got, dump quite a couple in a system. I only usually dump one, and it'll tell you what you've got. So we know in Todoria we've got a decent amount of ice and a good amount of silicon. In Kessel we've got some ice, quite a bit of ore, quite a bit of silicon. If you look hunting for certain resources, so say you want to set up a ore miner for silicon, rhodium, and that kind of thing, you look at your legend, which is on your map here. They're in sectors of space which is red. Ice is also a solid based mining resource. If you want in gas, methane, Tabana, and there's another one which I forget what it is, you're looking for a region of space which is blue, such as Bespin. Bespin, obviously, in the films, it's where Lando has his Tabana gas facility. Mineral gas regions are in purple, so that might have a little bit of both, or a little bit of everything. You need these to effectively get your miners up and running, because what your miners do is they'll use the information to mine in that area. If they don't have a resource probe, it just takes a little bit longer for them to be able to mine. So what we'll do is we'll take one resource probe, and we're going to take 4 advanced satellites, just so we can demonstrate it. We confirm his order. It takes a couple of seconds, and what we need to do now is we have been mapping out Hoth. Oh, sorry, we've been mapping out Bespin. Bespin, I believe, is pretty much mapped out now. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to this new sector here. So we will set our guidance to this jump gate. Now I can, and this doesn't always ring true, but I can make an educated guess that with this jump beacon being here, it's going to take us into this section. If we look at his legend, we know that in this particular section, we don't know anything about it. It's unexplored. If you ever have a system like this where it's just kind of like there's no colour, it means there's no resources there essentially. So we'll get underway in our lovely new Z95. We'll have an auto save, and what we'll do is we will pick this back up when we're at the gate to the new system. We have just taken a little stop in Bespin. This is the free port in Bespin. fits very well in the Bespin system because obviously it looks a little bit like Cloud City. You can dock and trade with these. These are brilliant because basically they have a mixture of different inventories, but we'll cover that in another episode. So the reason we've stopped off in Bespin is because obviously we know it's going to be rich in some form of gas, and we're just going to have a look. Now, for the resource probes, I've found it doesn't matter too much where you place these. As you can see, I've literally just popped through the jump gate. Now, when you drop the resource probes on other playthroughs, I've noticed it doesn't matter where the resource probe is, because your miners will still just go wherever the hell they want in that system, sometimes completely ignoring a system to go somewhere else. It just gives you an idea of what's in that system, so you can kind of like mine it. So easy peasy lemon squeezy if you're doing this yourself. We go and deploy our civilian, and we go on resource probes. We click that. We can now see that's been dropped. It's even in front of us. Oh, that's the thing to watch out for as well. You can accidentally hit your satellites, and it will send them a long, long way. So if we look in Bespin, let's just close this legend. We know it's going to be gas, and if we hover over it, it's Tabana. It's full of Tabana and Tabana only. So if we were wanting to set up a Tabana factory to make Tabana cells, or just sell the resource on its own, then we know we're covered. So that's your resources. Now we're going to go to Matao. Is that how that's pronounced? Matao? Either which way. We're going to see what's in this system, and we're going to go through it as if we're going into a fresh system, which we are. As you can see, we've not explored Matao at all, and we'll go through the step-by-step process of basically how we can do this. Wow, Black Sun and Imperials aren't having a good time. You could have got through there, Rod.
Disengage.
I think this is the only time he's ever stopped at the game. Anyway, right, so Matao. Here we are. So first thing we've seen is there's a solar plant. The solar plants generate energy cells. They're the first and easiest station to get set up, because all you need is storage and solar panels to do it. So first things first. Now, looking at this system, I'm just going to stop. We don't know anything about this system. We've not even got any question marks yet. What I like to do is near the jump gates, and if there's any stations near it, we like to drop a satellite straight away. So, advanced satellite, there we go. Now that's giving us coverage. If we click on the satellite, just move forward a bit so we can actually get it. We can see we now know all this sector. We know what comes in and out of this sector on this particular gate, as well as like any stations. And we've got station information now. But what if we've got no stations? We don't know anything. It's simple. You do need to do a long range scan. So we go Shift 3. And then we hold L and we do a scan. You don't want to just press it like that because it'll fail. You don't want to let it go when it's a thick line. You don't want to hold it too long because it'll fail. What we're looking for is our narrow band like that. And as we scan, some little question marks pop up. So, unknown station, unknown station, unknown station. Pretty self-explanatory. Unknown object. If it's an unknown object near the edge of a sector, not right on the edge, but near the edge, we can guess that is another jump gate. So, the way I like to do it, if I'm doing it myself, because there's a way that you can kind of automate this a little bit, and we'll go over that in a minute. is, so this is giving me out a kind of rough estimate of how big this sector is and what this will cover. I'm going to set a guidance point to here. I'm going to go Shift A.
Engage.
I usually keep it in the map so I've got an idea of where things are, etc. And what we're going to try and do is we're going to try and drop a satellite roughly here. Excuse me. And we'll see how many stations that gets. Oh, so we found a shipyard. That's brilliant. So that'll be definitely something I want to highlight to have a look at, especially with it not being a major faction shipyard. What we can probably find from that one
Disengage.
is it's easy to get military ships with it because we just need to trade with them essentially or do missions for them. So let's deploy our civilian satellite. Always make sure you're stationary. If you deploy satellites whilst you're in travel mode, and we found a bounty hunter guild station, that's brilliant. We've been looking for those. Yeah, if you deploy satellites whilst in travel speed, what happens is the satellite keeps moving because it has to stop itself. Same as if you accidentally fly into your satellites, they go running off. On a little side note, if you're ever doing the laser tower missions and you want to be able to get those laser towers before the local sectors get them, they're not usually immediately hostile towards you. You can fly into those satellites and knock them flying and then hunt them down. It takes a long time, but it works. So we now know where 3 stations are with 1 satellite. That's the advantage of the big advanced ones. We could probably fine-tune this a bit. If you ever put one in the wrong place and you want to pick it up, all you need to do is, if you select this advanced satellite, there's probably a hotkey for this, but not on the minimap, but on the actual target item, you can deactivate that satellite, hold your magnet, and there we go. We can collect that, and we can redeploy. If we want, we might be able to get this jump gate in, but because we've got the guild station, everything like that, I'm happy with the placement of this one. This one's a good place to have eyes on, especially because if we look at this station, they sell some good trade ships, they sell the neutral star builders. It's useful to know what XLs do they have, and they've got a harbour class. The harbour class, the ship that we're aiming for, if we look at that, at the minute we can't have the turrets. Now they don't sell the turret they want, the iron one, but it will be easier to get a reputation with these guys than it will say the Enote faction, because I don't need to build any stations. Right, so next, what I'm going to do, because I've moved a bit further in sector, I'm going to activate my long range scanner again, pressing Shift 3, and I'm going to do another scan and see if this pops up with any more, which I believe that's new. So then what I'd do, looking at how big this is, I think if we fly to here, so you can control everything on your map view using hotkeys, Shift A. You can even bring yourself out to out of travel mode if you've got your settings set up. So if you hit, say mine, it's one of my side mouse buttons, it stops, brings me out of travel mode. So happy with that.
Disengage.
Autopilot disengaged, and then we drop another satellite. And it's that simple. Now the other way to do it, apologies if you can hear the dogs barking, The other way to do this is set yourself some scout ships up. So, as we've seen before in the previous episode, I've got my own scout ships. He's currently docked, awaiting some more satellites, as it would happen. So again, consumables, he's got his satellites, they're all loaded up. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell him to get these satellites, and we're going to deploy a satellite there. So that's one satellite, and then we're going to deploy one there, 2 satellites, and then let's get one down here, 3 satellites, we'll try one there, 4 satellites. Was there anything else in this sector? We had the smart ship factory down here, 5 satellites. Now, if for whatever reason you make a mistake with where you're placing them, because you can't be as accurate, it's simple to reverse. You basically just use the same principle. So if I click on this satellite, I can choose to deactivate it. When it's deactivated, I can tell it to collect it, and that is essentially all there is to mapping out systems. It takes a while, especially if you do it yourself. My advice is basically always have some satellites on you, maybe have a resource probe as well, and essentially as you're flying around doing your other missions, map it out as you go. So that's it for this episode. As I said, these are not the most exciting episodes. I'm probably going to do a lot of this off camera. I just wanted to share with you how I go about it, because even the most simplest things like this on X4 are not always the most straightforward. So I hope you find that helpful, and I will see you next time, where hopefully we'll be doing something a little bit more exciting.